covers the Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers, a 10-episode miniseries in 1996 that bridged the gap between the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 3 finale and Power Rangers Zeo. When talking about the plot of Alien Rangers, it's important to note that yes, in fact, Rita and Lord Zed did turn the Power Rangers into children once before, using the Rock of Time. But in this instance, they forgot that they were ever Power Rangers and just regressed in age. But in Alien Rangers, Master Vile, the father of Rita Repulsa and Rita Revolto, shows up with the Orb of Doom, a completely different stone that turns back time, and literally uses it to turn the entire Earth backwards, regressing time on the whole planet by 10 years and turning the Rangers into children again, only this time they remember they were Power Rangers. They just can't access their powers because genetically they're different, and I guess that makes sense to whoever wrote the script. A quick tangent about the Rock of Time. It is literally just a rock. It's almost like someone was filming B-roll and they just happened to film a rock out in the desert in California. And then they were like, okay, we need a rock to use as the Rock of Time. I mean, Goldar and Zed have been talking it up the whole episode, but we don't have anything. We didn't bother to make anything out of chicken wire and paper mache. So let's just show video footage of this random frickin' rock. It pissed me off so much. And I feel like they almost redeemed themselves with the Orb of Doom because it's actually an interesting prop, but it's still just a big glass orb.
That's the Rock of Time. Is just a random rock.
The Rock of Time. The Rock of Time.
One of my favorite things about this plotline is they recast all the same actors who had played the children before, which is interesting because in Hollywood you would think, oh, well, those kids only played them for one episode in season 2, I think. They're not going to get the job back. But they literally recast all of them, except, of course, for the one who played Kimberly, because at this point in time, it was Kat on the team, so they had to find a new actress to play her. So, being the only humans on the entire planet who remember the correct timeline and know they have to defend the planet from Rita, Zed, and Lord Vile now, the Rangers make the long hike through the desert back to the command center, where Alpha and Zordon call for help from a team of Rangers from another planet, which has not been affected by the time change because the Orb of Doom only turned back time on Earth. So enter the Alien Rangers of Aquitar, who have the most 90s head prosthetic you've ever seen in your life, and mannerisms like they're little bird people, always looking at everything out of the side of their head. They're amazing. I love them. I will take no criticisms. Just like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the Alien Rangers use power coins that were created for them by Ninjor. But unlike the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, they actually take good care of those power coins. The Mighty Morphin Rangers have already gone through 2 sets, and the Alien Rangers, who got their powers before them, still have their first set, which is why you should have adults be Power Rangers and not teenagers. As you may know, Power Rangers uses footage from a Japanese TV series called Super Sentai. They reuse the fight scene footage because the actors' faces are covered by the helmets, and refilm all of the out-of-suit scenes with their own actors and write a new plotline. So the Japanese series that Alien Rangers is adapted from is called Kakuranger, and a lot of fans who like Power Rangers and Sentai will complain a lot to you, and very validly, about the fact that they really kind of wasted Kakuranger on Alien Rangers. I mean, we get 10 episodes, and they are considered to be the weakest Power Rangers team because they need water to survive. They come from a planet that's completely covered in water, a planet called Aquitar. And Earth water is all crappy, so they can't power up as well with it. And they pretty much every 10 minutes just end up laying on the ground being like, water! Help! The Alien Rangers is amazing, however, in that it is the first Power Rangers team to have ever had a female team leader. The White Ranger, Delphine, is the first ever female team leader in Power Rangers, and we love her for it. After the Alien Rangers show up, tech genius Billy Cranston creates a machine that can turn him and his fellow Rangers back to their teenage selves so that they can fight crime again, or space monsters. However, he only gets to use this on himself before it is taken away by Rita Revolto. Then Lord Zed and Rita channel their energy through Goldar and destroy the ninja power coins. And teenage Billy Cranston hanging out with all of his 10-year-old teammates makes for some of my favorite stuff in that season. There are parts where he has to like pretend to be their older brother because some woman is like, they're running around unchaperoned in the park.
What parent in their right mind would leave children like you alone with such dangerous equipment? We could get into all sorts of trouble.
I can't tell if this woman is genuinely concerned or if she's just being a huge busybody. We're fine.
The best BS Tommy has is, we're fine. But I guess it's in keeping with his character. He's too pure of heart to be able to come up with a good lie.
Really?
Oh, well, I'm left with no choice. I'm simply going to have to turn it over to the proper authority.
Hey! Didn't I tell you kids not to play with my science experiment?
Did anyone else feel like in Alien Rangers they tried to make David Yost as hunky as possible? But dang! Who dat?
Hey! Didn't I tell you kids not to play with my science experiment?
I'm sorry, ma'am. It appears as though my little brother and sister here like to get into trouble.
Yes, I was just worried.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
Even though Kat and Tommy know exactly what's going on, they're still insulted that Billy would dare refer to them as his little brother and sister.
Now, if the two of you keep it up, you're gonna lose your allowance.
Lose our allowance.
Just trying to make it believable.
Did you find what you needed?
Yeah, come on.
So obviously when you have two Power Rangers teams together, a lot of times the same color from each team will pair up and have little buddy moments, which is what the Child Rangers and the Alien Rangers of Aquitar do, which means that Billy Cranston spends a ton of time with Bestro, the Blue Ranger, which has led me to believe that they are absolutely in love. Okay, if you watch this series, Bestro's constantly saving Billy because Billy can't morph, and then Billy's constantly saving Bestro because he's running out of water, and it just has this like ridiculous romance corny vibe. And then in Zeo, Bestro shows back up to get Billy, obviously because he missed him, and takes him on a trip back to Aquitar, and eventually Billy ends up moving to Aquitar to be with Sestria, a woman we only see once. No, she is a beard. He is moving to Aquitar to be with Bestro. So the purpose of this miniseries was to explain how the Rangers go from their Mighty Morphin powers to their new Zeo powers, which is where we get to the Zeo Quest part of the season. And apparently only the little kids can go on magical Zeo quests. Something about Billy being aged up makes it not possible for him to go looking for one of the magically powerful 5 Zeo crystals. So the Alien Rangers and Teenage Billy just kind of shove the children into a time warp and are like, bye guys, have fun. We can't contact you while you're gone. I hope you make it back. Which does give Billy a lot more alone time with Bestro. The first Zeo Quest that we see makes a lot of sense from a writing standpoint. Rocky goes back to Mexico. He meets a kid, befriends him, learns about a volcano that's going to erupt, goes to stop it, and in doing so, gets his Zeo crystal. And then right at the end, he has this conversation with his new friend where he realizes that's his grandpa. It is a classic time travel storyline wherein it starts out kind of monotonous, you make a friend, you go on a journey, and then you realize something important about yourself. And you would think that one being so cookie cutter written and just how it's supposed to be to make sense, that all of the following plot lines would make just as much sense and follow the same pattern. But they don't. So yes, Tommy does travel back in time and meet a group of Native Americans who give him the red Zeo crystal. Really suspicious he becomes the Red Ranger right after he finds out he's a native. And Adam does travel back to Korea and meet some random old guy who gives him the green Zeo crystal. But neither of those storylines are as well explained or flushed out as the Rocky one. But when we get to Kat is when it starts to get really weird. Hers is a classic test of morality plotline, which is completely different from the time travel one we set up with Rocky, where she meets the actress that plays the older version of her, who says she can take her to the Zeo crystal, but then they come across an old woman on the side of the road, also played by that actress. So everyone in this dimension is her, which is really weird. Those two appear to not know each other and not be related, so they're not her ancestors. The old woman says she needs help, so Kat's like, I'll help you, even though it's gonna mess up what I'm trying to do. And then those guys give each other eyes, the two other versions of her, like, we're testing her, which is creepy and weird and not explained. She goes to the old woman's house, and the old woman congratulates her for making the right moral choice by giving her the pink Zeo crystal. So I don't know what the heck was going on there, but it is a bizarre fever dream. Aisha travels to Africa. However, she does not time travel. She only travels through space. I mean, she could have just taken an airplane. Because she's in the same time the world has been regressed back to. She and Tanya are the same age. Which is really confusing because everyone was traveling to meet their ancestors, but I don't think that anyone in the town that she goes to is related to her. She does end up hanging out with this old woman, but I would think Given her age and that woman's age, it could at most be her grandma, and she would know if it was her grandma. But actress Karen Ashley was leaving the show, so Aisha gives the Zeo crystal to Tanya and sends her back to the command center in her place. Once they have all 5 Zeo crystals, they use their power to correct the timeline, sending the entire Earth 10 years into the future. And we know it was only the Earth that was 10 years in the past because the Alien Rangers stay the same age, which means time has not changed on Aquitar at all. We also know that Tanya and Aisha have effectively switched place for the last 10 years. Zordon says their families and their lives will correct along with the timeline, making it so Aisha has lived in Africa for the last 10 years and Tanya has lived in Angel Grove. Or I believe Tanya was living in Stone Canyon until the last year, because logically she would have fulfilled the exact same role as Aisha, come from Stone Canyon with Rocky and Adam, and then join the Power Rangers. Which unfortunately means that Aisha was never the Yellow Ranger. It was Tanya, because of this time change. However, since we already know that Aisha is going to be using her vet skills that she learned in a future alternate timeline that now never existed to help animals in Africa, we know that all of the Rangers retained their memories. And I think this is because the power is protecting them. They all still remember Aisha being the Yellow Ranger, even though no one else on the planet does. Not that anyone would know, because no one knows the identity of the Rangers anyway. But basically, that's the reason Aisha is able to come back in Once and Always, because Adam remembers her and could go get her and recruit her into SPA. You know, it's all very complicated and convoluted, but the facts are there. Just ask me for the receipts, I could show them to you. Tanya and Adam will then go on to be the first interracial couple in Power Rangers history. My biggest issue with this time travel plotline is that Tanya's parents were missing, and that's why she was staying with that random old woman in a town in Africa. However, when we go 10 years into the future, they're still missing, okay? Because she finds them in an episode of Zeo and goes and rescues them from a temple where they appear to have been trapped for like 48 hours. So were they there for 48 hours, or have they been there for 10 years? No one ever explained it, and it pisses me off. So we're getting into Zeo territory, but given that I've gone over all of this completely maddening canon, I'd like to just dip my toe into the craziness that happens in Zeo, because at the end of the miniseries, the command center gets blown up, and Billy jumps onto the console to teleport everyone away. And then, when the Gold Ranger tries to select a new person to take their power, we think, oh, it's gonna be Billy, right? No, his body is messed up from that radiation and he can't do it. And that's why we get Jason back. But the real reason is that actor David Yost, who plays Billy, was also leaving the show. Go figure, all these people left the show because of horrible conditions and bad treatment, because Haim Saban is a horrible person, and obviously his productions are not a fun place to be. But the way Billy leaves the show is equally as insane as the entire plot of the Alien Rangers, because David Yost just walked off. He was like, I'm done, I'm out, I quit, peace homies. So what they did was they said the machine he built to age himself forward was broken and it continues aging him. And for the last few episodes that Billy is in, he is replaced by an actor who's just an old guy. My friend is laughing off screen. But this is true, this is what really happens. They replace him with an old guy and they're like, he's getting old. And then they have to call the Alien Rangers for help, and they bring back the Fountain of Youth from Aquitar to give it to Billy to save him from turning to dust or whatever. And they end up taking him back to Aquitar to help heal him. And he claims that he's staying because he fell in love with Sestria while she was like nursing him or whatever. But we all know that what really happened is he stayed to be with Sestro.
Wink. Please like and subscribe.
No, I did not tap you to get your attention. I tapped you so you would go away. Go. You heard him. He was like, "Brrr."
Yeah, he was excited.
I pet him.